Just weeks away from the election, and we have a very special episode of your AMAC Weekly News. A big October surprise, in fact, as Hunter Biden's emails have come back to haunt Joe Biden. And what we are now seeing in these emails, allegedly from his personal laptop, is that, well, he was selling influence directly to the Obama-Biden administration while making millions of dollars doing business with communists in China, Russia, and other nations. More on that coming up in just a moment. Also, the final debate is this week, and guess what happened? They decided to change the topic. That's right, it was supposed to cover foreign policy. But then there was a decision that policy of talking about foreign policy could be too damaging to Joe Biden because of the Hunter Biden revelations. So the debate commission and the moderator unilaterally changed the topics of the debate. I'll give you more details on exactly why they decided to do this. Plus, they want to mute the president of the United States of America. You know, the guy who's the leader of the free world. And finally, we have both AMAC CEO Rebecca Weber and Vice President of AMAC Action, Andy Mangione, with us to explain more on what is really important and what you should be focusing on in this upcoming election. But first, a quick reminder, if you haven't shared this video with your family and friends, hit that share button right now. We're fighting for the outcome of this election, and without your help, we are not going to have a great election. So hit that share button. Your AMAC Weekly News starts right now. There's no other way to put it, but Joe Biden is in serious hot water right now, and it all goes back to a laptop allegedly owned by his son, Hunter Biden. So here's a little background of what actually happened. In April 2019, a laptop owner, a.k.a. Hunter Biden, dropped off 3 water-damaged MacBooks at a Delaware computer repair shop. Now, after months of not being able to reach the laptop owner, Hunter, the computer repairman looked through the laptop. And what he found was so shocking that he decided to call the FBI. Not only did he find sexually explicit images and footage on one of the laptops, which appear to feature Hunter Biden, but he also found emails revealing Hunter introduced his dad to a top executive at a Ukrainian natural gas company, Burisma Holdings. You know, that same company that Hunter Biden works for. The timeline of these emails would mean this took place less than a year before Joe Biden pressured government officials in Ukraine to fire a prosecutor investigating Burisma, the company which Hunter Biden set on the board. Now, let me be clear, and let me remind you that Joe Biden actually went on stage at a major event and bragged about getting this prosecutor fired and holding American tax dollars from Ukraine until he got his wish to fire the prosecutor that was investigating Burisma, the company, and also his son, who was sitting on that board. Take a look.
I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
In late 2019, the FBI eventually confiscated the laptops, but not before the repairman made a copy of the hard drive himself. Now, the repairman heard nothing about this for months from the FBI. It wasn't until 2020 that the repairman reached out to Rudy Giuliani's attorney with this entire story to tell. In September, Steve Bannon informed the New York Post about the hard drive, and Rudy Giuliani obtained a copy of it, which he provided to the Post when then this whole story exploded because the Post had it all. The Biden campaign apparently decided they would rather pretend that this story doesn't exist, and somehow it's just going to go away. When asked about it, Biden did, however, finally snap at a reporter because so many reporters hadn't even had the guts to ask him one simple question about it. Well, take a look at what happened when finally a reporter did their actual job.
And Mr. Biden, Mr. Biden, what is your response to the New York Post story about your son, sir?
I know you'd ask it. I have no response. It's another smear campaign. Right up your alley. They're the questions you always ask.
Now, Joe Biden has said over and over and over again that he had, quote, no involvement with his son's international dealings. Yet, we are now seeing that he met with an executive at Burisma. There is also evidence that Burisma paid Hunter Biden clearly to influence his father. We now know that Hunter Biden took millions of dollars from foreign nationals, including the wife of the former mayor of Moscow, people tied to the Chinese Communist Party, and there's more. Meanwhile, the left started claiming that this must be some sort of Russian disinformation campaign. Hey, it worked 4 years ago. Why not try the same storyline again? Well, these repeated claims brought out the director of national intelligence, John Ratcliffe, who said this about this insane theory that somehow all this is tied to the Russians.
It is Adam Schiff, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, who, as you pointed out on Friday, said that the intelligence community believes that Hunter Biden's laptop and the emails on it are part of some Russian disinformation campaign. Let me be clear. The intelligence community doesn't believe that because there's no intelligence that supports that. And we have shared no intelligence with Chairman Schiff or any other member of Congress that Hunter Biden's laptop is part of some Russian disinformation campaign.
Now, thank goodness that Ratcliffe has come out squashing the story, embarrassing Adam Schiff and other Democrats who are peddling this conspiracy theory. It's not Russian disinformation. But the left and the mainstream media just keep holding on to that theory. When the story hit, even Twitter and Facebook got in on the action to make sure you didn't hear about this, severely restricting the story in such a way that conservatives have now said it's nothing more than election interference by big tech. Now, this is obviously a story Americans deserve to be able to read about, hear about, talk about, especially before we all cast our votes for the presidency. The American people deserve to know what is going on, and the mainstream media and social media are trying to keep us from finding out the real truth about Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and influence from around the world that clearly is controlling the two men. Now, we here at AMAC will make sure that you know exactly what's going on, no matter what the media tries to do to suppress it. We are reaching the end of the election season with just mere days to go until Election Day. The American people only had one more chance to hear from the presidential candidates in a debate on purpose. That's right, the Presidential Debate Committee decided to cancel that second debate because they knew it could help Donald Trump far more than Joe Biden. Now, from the very beginning, the agreed-upon topic for the final debate was to be foreign policy. However, with the Hunter Biden bombshells, the debate commission and the moderator, a member of the media, decided they didn't want to talk about something that would reflect poorly on the former Vice President Joe Biden. Why? Because he obviously had negative ties to foreign governments that would destroy his ability to be taken seriously on the foreign policy stage. In other words, the last debate that Joe Biden ever wanted to have going into Election Day was having a debate about foreign policy that would open him up and Hunter Biden up to an incredible amount of questioning, especially about money that was going to Joe Biden. So instead of forcing him to face the music, the commission unilaterally changed the debate topics to basically the exact same ones from the first debate. And let's be honest, the first debate wasn't a bad one for Joe Biden. We saw it in the polls, so why not do it all again? Well, we now know exactly who they're trying to protect. The debate commission, the media, the moderator, they're all trying to protect Joe Biden at all costs. Now, it's not only that, but the commission also announced just days before the final debate a new rule, a rule to allow the moderator to mute the leader of the free world. I want you to think about what our founding fathers would think about this. This is something just years ago would have been unimaginable in our free country. Yet here we are. We have allowed the members of the biased media the power to mute the president of the free world. Now, I want you to listen to what Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDowell had to say about this.
And to have this supposed nonpartisan commission continue to make rule changes without consulting the Trump campaign, break promises that they made to the Trump campaign, to unilaterally make decisions that ended the second debate. It's just really shameful, and they're hurting the American people, and it is a form of election interference.
I couldn't agree more with the Republican National Committee chairwoman. This was absolutely election interference, something that the Democrats, by the way, say that they hate. Remember, they tried to make a fake story turn into Donald Trump was colluding with the Russians to interfere in our election. They're actually doing it in real time. Now, they made decisions on behalf of Joe Biden without once consulting the Trump campaign. That is collusion, by the way. McDowell said, quote, "There was supposed to be a second debate in the weeks between the two we saw, but instead we had dueling town halls because the debate commission decided to change the rules without consulting with the Trump campaign even once. This was just more proof of the fact that we live in a country where the mainstream media has more power and more control than our own president, who was elected by the American people. This is what you see in communist countries. This is what you witness in dictatorships. This is what you see in countries that suppress free speech. And it's happening now in America. This is how far gone this country is. And it's time for us to bring it back. We have to do our part. If you want to know why you need to vote in this upcoming election, it is because we have to make sure that we do not allow what our founding fathers fought and died for to disappear. The freedom to vote, the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression. It is never okay to have the President of the United States of America, no matter what party they are in, to be able to be muted by the media who's been elected by no one. Millions of Americans have already voted in early voting, and we're just days away from tens of millions of Americans voting on Election Day. And we're honored to have both AMAC CEO Rebecca Weber and Vice President of AMAC Action Andy Mangione here today to talk about why your vote is so important, and most importantly, what Donald Trump has done for seniors. Andy, I really want to talk about what the president has done, and this deals with an issue that so many seniors are having to deal with right now, and that is COVID-19. The president has used the power of the White House, the government, to do everything that he can to protect seniors. Let's start with that.
Glad to, Ben. The president has protected seniors throughout this pandemic by providing important therapeutics for them should they contract the virus. He's also ensuring that seniors receive the vaccine once it's developed free of charge. So they will have access to this vaccine once it becomes available, and it won't cost them a dime. He's also lowered Medicare Advantage premiums throughout the country. We're in the throes right now of the annual enrollment period, so this is very timely information. Medicare Advantage premiums throughout the country have been lowered thanks to President Trump. He's also reduced the cost of prescription drugs, including insulin, and he's ordered hospital price transparency that will further lower costs for America's seniors.
Let's talk about something else the president's done, and that is trying to protect seniors really from being victims of scams, scam artists, people that call and trying to take their money. This is a multi-billion-dollar issue in this country every year where seniors are taken advantage of, and that's something the president has really done to try to protect seniors in this nation.
Seniors worked hard throughout their lives to save their money, and they deserve a well-rested retirement, a well-funded retirement. And what the president's done is a crackdown on fraudulent robocalls that prey on seniors to get them to invest their life savings into bogus investments and products.
You know, that's something that affected my family, where we found out, unfortunately, too late, that one of my grandparents was taken advantage of and was giving money to fraudulent people that were calling, saying they had these great charities, and they drained their bank account. And it was so sad to see. And once that money's gone, it really is gone. There's something else that the president has also done, and that is really trying to protect families and the family structure. The president's a realist. He understands that there are so many grandparents in this country that are raising their grandchildren, and he wants to make it easier for them to accomplish this as well.
Well, some grandparents and some older Americans do find themselves raising their grandchildren. And one of the promises of the president's pillars to protect America's seniors includes much needed relief for those seniors who find themselves raising their grandchildren.
You know, Alzheimer relief has been something that the president has been focusing on really since day one, and not just giving lip service, but actually trying to use our tax dollars in a positive way when it comes to research into fighting this disease that affects so many Americans. And that is something that he has continued to focus on, especially if he gets a second term. Absolutely.
He's already invested heavily into research to find a cure for Alzheimer's disease. There's not anybody that you know or that I know who doesn't have personal experience with Alzheimer's disease or knows someone who's dealing with a relative afflicted by this horrible disease.
You know, the president, you talk about his protection of life, and that obviously deals with seniors. But, Rebecca, I want to talk about an issue that's one of the top issues for AMAC members that we hear from day in and day out. And this has been consistent for more than a decade, and that is the sanctity of life and protecting the sanctity of life. This president promised when he was running in 2016 that if you elect me, I am going to protect the unborn. He has never stopped doing that. We are seeing the Supreme Court fight right now for Judge Barrett, and the left is terrified that she is going to protect life. Let's talk about the president's commitment to life of the unborn as well.
Thank you so much, Ben. AMAC and our membership are very much pro-life from conception. And we have a president who has kept his promises. He's boldly stated that he is a pro-life president. Under a Biden presidency, we can kiss goodbye any legislation that is currently out there that's protecting life. For example, AMAC is standing strongly in support of legislation to the thanks of Senator Sass and Congresswoman Wagner, the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protections Act. And this act, what it does essentially is if a baby is born alive, and we're talking oftentimes this happens in that third trimester, that baby will be given the tools the doctors will need to save that baby's life if born alive. I find it very anti-American for someone running for president who says that we care about life, but we're going to turn a blind eye to infant babies that are born alive from botched abortions. AMAC's 2.2 million members make all of these things possible. When we go to Washington and we say that we have 2.2, almost 2.3 million members, people need to listen. So I encourage folks to tell people about who AMAC is, what we're doing. We're protecting seniors, but we're also looking out for all Americans, including the most vulnerable.
You know, I remind everybody watching this today, you and I have talked about this, obviously off air, but you got to look at the vice presidential candidate in Kamala Harris. This is an individual on the record that has actually used the laws when she was in California to attack and arrest pro-life activists that had done nothing wrong to try to silence them. That is how important this election is. That is what we are up against. Rebecca, I really appreciate what you're doing, focusing, like you said, AMAC, not just on seniors issues, but also a commitment to life of every person, including the unborn. And Andy, obviously, what this president's trying to do with protecting seniors, whether it be raising your grandkids, whether it be with Alzheimer's research and prescription drug plans and insulin, this president is clearly committed to seniors' issues and is going to do this for another 4 years if we get him reelected.
Absolutely, Ben.
Ben, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys coming on. That's it for this special edition of AMAC Weekly News. A very important reminder to everyone, do not forget to go vote. This election, our country is at stake. And right now, it is time for us to stand up and fight for what we believe in. Also, please make sure you share this video with your family and friends. And if you have not joined AMAC or renewed your membership, it is more important now than ever before. So make sure you join AMAC or renew that membership right now so we can continue to fight together to protect freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and make sure that the media is not more powerful than the President of the United States of America. I'm Ben Ferguson, and I'll see you next week for our next episode.